Welcome to the Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu podcast, where Mike, Joey, and myself discuss all things grappling. All right, welcome to the Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu podcast with co-hosts Uki Mike and Joey Boretski. All right, I just want to thank the sponsor, xmartial.com. You can use code Jordan10 for 10% off your order. Get the Limitless Rash Guard or T-Rex Arms Rash Guard or whatever you want. They got a lot of cool rash guards, so check that out. We have a great episode for you today, and we have some huge news, and let's just get started with that right away. So basically, Joey is moving away to Alberta because he got a job out there, and the Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu podcast is no more, so it's over now. But there's a silver lining. It's like, it's not actually over. Basically, what I want to do is we're still going to do it remotely. We're still going to do the podcast. And, Joey just needs a good internet connection. And it'll actually work out good. You probably won't even be able to tell that he's actually not in the room with us, because we'll do it a similar way where it cuts to Joey, but then me and Mike are together. So it's like exactly the same, except for Joey's the spotlight with one camera on him. So yeah, it'll work good. And I just want to have a new podcast. I want to start over because I don't really like the Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu name. I just thought it was like cool because like it's a good play on words for the YouTube channel. But like personally, I just like, I don't really like it because, it's our podcast. And right from the start, I didn't like it. Like even before I selected it, that's why I asked people like, what should I name it? I was trying to think of names, but everyone's just like, do Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm like, fine, I'll do that. That's a good name. But yeah, I don't like saying it. And because like it's all of us, it's all three of us. So we're going to find a new name and start a new podcast, the new episode 1, because we're a lot better podcasters now too. Like we don't say and ah and well, that was mostly me. I was really bad for that, but I've gotten a lot better at that. And so I just want to start a new podcast at episode 1. And now that we're good podcasters, and there's going to be a little bit of a new, not format, like we're still going to talk to each other and do our podcast together, but I also want to get like guests on the channel. So like, I want to do that quite regularly, have interviews quite often, and basically get either Joey to do them or you and Joey, and I'll do some of them, but like, I don't have like enough time to just like interview people all the time. So yeah, we'll do like our podcast together. You guys can interview some people, and basically just put more effort into like the promotion side of it, because like right now I've just been posting on my own channel, but we're gonna have our own dedicated channel for the new podcast, its own Instagram and just everything, posting like shorts and reels every day and clips of the podcast. So I want to grow it to be the number 1 podcast. I just think it's a little hard to do when it's so linked to the YouTube channel of Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu too. So yeah, I think it'll be better having a different, a new podcast. So yeah, what do you guys think of all that?
Are we going to be branching out on subjects as well, or is it just going to stick to jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, it'll stick to jiu-jitsu, but I think maybe in the future we could start like a second podcast and like talk about other stuff too, because realistically, it doesn't take us much time to do the podcast. It's only like an hour, and then Ben does the edit. So we could do something like that in the future.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
Because I don't only like jiu-jitsu, that's the thing. So I like talking about other things too. And yeah, it's going to suck having Joey gone, but it's also kind of cool in the sense that he might offer a different perspective of like, training out in Edmonton. Where exactly are you going in Edmonton?
Like in the city?
Oh, sorry. I meant Alberta. Like you're going to Edmonton, not Calgary?
I'm going right to Edmonton.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do you know where you're going to train?
Not really positive about everything yet, but figure it out when I get there.
You think about all of us starting your own thing out there, or is it easier?
Not right away. Eventually maybe, but yeah.
Well, my cousin, she has like Taekwondo gyms out there, and she was asking me before if I knew any good jiu-jitsu instructors. And so if you want to start a program there, it's called Phoenix Taekwondo. I'm sure they'd love to have you. So it's just an option. They got mats and everything, and yeah, they do Taekwondo and some Muay Thai and whatnot. So yeah, it'd be a good spot to start something up.
You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
I lived in Edmonton for 10 years. It's a great spot for mixed martial arts and BJJ.
Yeah. I was thinking about moving out there too, like a while ago, just because like it's just cheaper out there. It's super expensive in Ontario. So
it's crazy. When I lived there, it was so expensive.
Yeah, it's like it's cheaper to live there now, and you get paid more. So it's like a lot of people are moving from Ontario to there. But the con of it all is that it's really cold.
Oh, it's cold as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. -40 was a regular thing.
Yeah.
In the winter. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but it is cheaper. Like the wife and I just got a 2-bedroom apartment that's completely renovated for $950 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, that's you can't get
out here. It's like $1,700. It's crazy.
Man, that is crazy. Yeah. And then you're a lot closer to home ownership out there too.
Yeah.
In Ontario, it's very hard to do.
Well, it was wild. I was out there and, I talked to some people and they're like, oh yeah, our housing market's like really expensive. Apartments are really expensive, but it's all coming down. And I was like, you guys are insane. Yeah. Like you should come to Ontario.
Yeah.
It's
unreal.
You'll learn about expensive. Come to Ontario.
Exactly. It's colder in Edmonton, but there's way more sunlight too, right, Mike?
Yeah. I noticed when I lived there that the sun in the summer especially sets way later. I'd be sitting outside at 9:30, quarter to 10. I'm like, what is it, like 7 at night? And like, you can't believe it.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I've been told it's like it's colder there, but it's like a dry cold too. Like for people who haven't been to Ontario, because we have the Great Lakes like right near us, it's always like humid and wet. Even when it's like cold, it's like a wet cold, and it's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. We're in like the warmer part of Canada, and so the summers get super hot, but the winter is like, it's not awful compared to like somewhere like Edmonton. It's pretty cold in Edmonton.
Yeah, Edmonton, you have about 3 solid weeks of summer like you'd have here, and then you have like fall for the rest of your summer.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I like fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just prefer fall all year round, or like half fall, half summer. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I can't stand the winter, but the summer gets too hot sometimes too.
Yeah, I'm a fall guy.
So one thing we got to talk about, and we won't talk about it just here, but if anyone has any suggestions, any viewers for a name for the channel, for the new podcast, a couple ideas we had are Let's Talk Jiu-Jitsu which is a good play on the current name and kind of upgrading it. And one I like too is Jiu-Jitsu Radio. I think it sounds kind of cool, but then I don't know if like it sounds not enough like a podcast that way. So that's something to think about. Or the Jiu-Jitsu podcast is kind of cool, but there's already that Jiu-Jitsu podcast, so it's a little too similar.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
I kind of personally, I like the first one.
Let's Talk Jiu-Jitsu.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's, we can all take a vote or whatever.
I'm terrible with names, so my opinion should mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah. It's just so important we get it right because, because if we don't, I'll probably want to change it in the future, because I've got no problem like, fixing my mistakes, even if it's like a huge pain in the ass. So, the problem is there's already a podcast called Let's Talk Jiu-Jitsu, but they haven't posted in 2 years. So I feel like it's fine if we start our own Let's Talk Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, we could even contact them and see if they're even doing it anymore.
Yeah. I did try to contact them and they didn't respond back. So I think that's a sign too that it's all good.
Yeah. I'm sure the listeners will let us know what they think is good out of the 3 that you just said.
Yeah, exactly. Listeners, let us know because we appreciate your input, and thank you guys for watching the Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu podcast and being so loyal to it. And and just like it's not ending really; it's just something new starting. So I'm pretty excited for the future for the podcast, and but it's been an honor, doing this with you guys.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but it's not over yet, so I don't really got to say our goodbyes really.
Yeah, and really like to thank everybody for sending me messages of like, encouragement. It's great telling me your story, and it just keeps me going too as well. It's a really nice community we have. Exactly. So the new podcast will either start next week or the week after. It just depends if we can really finalize a name on time, which probably will be Let's Talk Jiu-Jitsu. That's pretty much what I'm leaning towards. But we'll leave like a link and everything to the new podcast. And that's it. So let's get started with this podcast. So first, let's go over how our weeks went. Joey, you can start, then Mike, then me.
Yeah, I mean, I flew to Edmonton last week. So like the first time I've ever been on a plane, which was a really interesting experience. Toronto airport sucks.
Yeah,
it really sucks.
Did you train while you were out there?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I did. Yeah, there was a gym right next to my hotel. So
that's perfect.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was good. It was good. It was like the guys were good. There was really good training. Everyone was really friendly. It was, like not much different than what I'm used to really. Yeah. It is jarring going from sometimes like our gym that's really like laid back and relaxed, and then going to a gym that has like a lot more structure where there's like a warm up and like it's very structured, and you're kind of like, whoa, I don't know like what's going on. Like I know how to do jiu-jitsu. That's really it. Like, yeah. I don't know what else is happening, but like once you figure it out, you're like, all right, well, it's fun. Rolling's rolling wherever you are.
So what was the class format like out there?
It's just like warm up, like 3 techniques like we do, and then like a lot of drilling, and then like less emphasis on rolling. Like instead of doing like, we do like 6-7 rounds, they would have like 3-4 kind of thing, but more like drilling time.
Yeah, that's not enough in my opinion. I wouldn't want to like come for like a class of jiu-jitsu and only roll 3 times or 4 times. I feel like, I want more, but I do like that they're drilling a lot. But yeah, I think it'd be nice if they had more rolling too, just like do a lot of drilling, a lot of rolling, have a great night of working really hard.
Yeah. I just stayed after. They were like, all right, class is done. I was like, all right, well, if anyone else wants to keep rolling. And of course some people are like, sure, let's go. And I ended up doing like I think the first night I was there, I flew in. I got in at like 7 in the morning. So I was exhausted because I'd slept for like an hour. And I didn't sleep all during the day. And then I think I ended up doing like 12 rounds after drilling. I was like, my body did not like that. I felt terrible the whole weekend because of it.
Yeah, some gyms don't even roll at all, some classes, and they'll be like, if anyone wants to roll, feel free, and then no one does. And it's just like, you know, why would you not want to? Why? Like, it's crazy when it's like that, and there's a lot of gyms out there like that.
Recently, a guy from our gym went to another gym, and he said the same thing after class. They said, anybody want to roll that you can, but nobody wanted to stay and roll. And he's like, guys, is nobody going to stay and roll? And they're like, oh, I guess we can do a couple rounds. And he was like, what the hell? You just couldn't believe it. They don't roll. That's
mind-boggling to me. Yeah. That's like the worst. That's like my worst nightmare. Going to a gym and not getting to roll. That's all I want to do. And me personally, like I hate doing technique, but it's just because like I don't know. I just want to do the fun stuff. I think a lot of people are like that, but when you're a black belt, you don't really need the technique as much. Like not that you know
you
everything.
Already have it.
Yeah, you have a lot of it. You know, unless it's like a super advanced class, something really specific you're working on. But otherwise, it's like I just want to get to rolling. So yeah, to not roll at all, it's like. That sucks.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't get it. Like, that's the most fun part.
Yeah, that's why we're all here.
Why would you not want that? Like, that's the part I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Mike? How's your week been?
It's been fantastic. I've had one of the best weeks I've ever had in my life at the gym. You teaching that S mount, do you remember that class?
Yeah.
That took me so long before to get that concept in my head. But last week when you did it, boom, I had it and I was hitting it in class when we were rolling directly afterwards. And ever since that and the body lock pass I've been hitting, they're fantastic. I've had one of the best months, I guess, of my jiu-jitsu life. So I'm on a super upward trajectory. I'm also week 4 of my psilocybin adventure.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's all I can say is fantastic. My whole demeanor has changed with life.
Is it possible to like build up a tolerance and you need to take more?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very careful about that. I still stick to my certain days that I take it. I only take this amount.
Yeah.
Unless, yeah.
And if you do that, then you shouldn't build up a tolerance?
You'll still build up tolerance slightly. You might want to take a medicine break for a couple of weeks or a month at a time. But still, psilocybin is supposed to last a long time in your system, like the benefits of it after you stop taking it.
Yeah, yeah. I hear it like kind of rewires the brain.
Yes, that's what I heard as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Shuts off the default mode network, which is like makes you worry, and so you can only focus on the things in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. That's what you want.
That's what I want.
So yeah, my week's been pretty good. Yeah, nothing really new. I got a wrestling for jiu-jitsu video coming out that I'm a little bit nervous about, just because like jiu-jitsu is like my territory and I'm a good wrestler, but it's like I'm kind of like stepping out of my like territory a little bit, like talking about wrestling, where I put myself under the microscope for like, wrestlers with an opinion, you know what I mean? So like it's always like the criticism, if ever I get criticism on stuff, it's always like it's always judo guys, but then sometimes it's like wrestlers. But yeah, judo guys will just criticize the shit out of jiu-jitsu guys. They got no problem with that. And then the odd wrestler just saying something like, oh, like you shoot from like too far out, or it's just kind of like stuff like that. But the thing is too, it's like, when your rolls are recorded and in slow motion, and everyone can watch them, it's like you do make mistakes at times. You know what I mean? It's like it's hard to be 100% perfect when you're under the microscope, and it's easy to like throw stones at a glass house. And just because I'm referring to like the video I did with MMA Shredded, where on his channel we did like an MMA sparring match. It's like not every single takedown I did was timed perfectly. So like there's a couple of them where I admittedly didn't shoot, like it was a poor choice to shoot. But then I have like wrestlers telling me like, oh, I suck at wrestling and stuff like that. And they're just like, but then there's a lot of guys saying too, I've got good wrestling. A lot of wrestlers like, oh, I wrestle and you have great wrestling. So it's like the people just like kind of want to be negative or point out like, certain flaws or whatever. But it's like you watch any wrestling match and there's going to be mistakes made. And that's why like people can capitalize, and that's why it's a fight. So it's whatever.
It's wild to me. Like you make a wrestling for jiu-jitsu video and you'll get people who like are shocked that you don't have like Olympic level wrestling. It's like, but that's not what the video is. The video is not how to be the best wrestler in the world. It's how to wrestle for this other sport. Like judo guys, like you said, they get like so nitpicky about like your technique and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but some of the things that work in judo are the reasons why you use those techniques in judo. I don't need to do that here. Mm-hmm. Like, in wrestling and judo, you can, one of a common defense is for people to try to land on the stomach instead of the back so that you don't instantly lose the match. Well, in jiu-jitsu, if you want to do that, go ahead. Like, you're just giving me your back. So like certain things you have to do in these other sports are different for jiu-jitsu because the goal in the end is different. So like, I hate when people come in with this other sport mindset of like, it's not perfect for my sport. Well, I'm not trying to make it perfect for your sport. I'm trying to adapt it to mine. That's the title of the video.
Man, a really good example of that is that like when you shoot for takedowns in jiu-jitsu, you don't always have to drop your knee to the mat, because in wrestling you do for most of the time, because wrestlers stand so low to the ground, like their stance is super low and they need to match each other. So they always need to drop the knee to change their level. But in jiu-jitsu and MMA, you often don't need to drop your knee to get that low because people stand way more upright. But it's like, you know, do all wrestlers, or do they all know that, or are they just going to be like, oh, you didn't drop your knee, you didn't change your level enough, I'm gonna criticize you. So like I mentioned that in the actual video, that you don't always need to drop your knee, and I think I have all my bases covered for like, you know, things I do a little unconventional of like when it comes to wrestling, when it kind of modified towards jiu-jitsu. So yeah, you know, I'm interested to see how that'll go. And just because again, I'm kind of stepping on my territories a little bit. So, and I had to make that video like, because I had a different video planned. I had a role that I had recorded, and the guy, he decided he didn't want me to use it, which was fine with me. You know, it's the way she goes. Like, I'll ask people if they want to do it, and you know, people say yes and whatever, and if they don't want to after, it's no problem. I won't post it, you know. And most people volunteer, like at the gym especially, people volunteer, people come to me. But when I go other places, it's like, you know, I'll ask someone, maybe they feel obligated or whatever. But again, they can always say no after, and I'll 100% respect that. So let's get started with some, actually, before we get started with your questions, I also want to tell everyone about, there's this, if you're a gym owner, on BJJ Fanatics, my good friend Nick Castiglia has a Black Friday Crusher sale, of course, and it goes over how to get new clients and all these different things. Like, he's like a business consultant, and he was my business consultant for like 2 years. And in the first couple of months, we literally doubled our income from hiring Nick. So like, Nick knows his stuff big time. And yeah, if you're a gym owner, you want to check out this course on BJJ Fanatics. It's the first course of its kind on BJJ Fanatics, and it's just unbelievable value. You get an incredible rate of return on it. For only $199, you're going to make a lot of money. So highly recommend it to people.
Yeah, and Nick also has really good jiu-jitsu and a beautiful gym. Like, if you ever dropped into his gym, it's really nice. Like, he's done a good job with it.
Yeah, exactly. He's the man.
You can tell the dude knows his stuff.
Yeah, there's a reason why he has so many clients, and all his clients are crushing it with their gyms. And yeah, so make sure you guys check that out. And let's just, we'll do some viewer questions, and we'll go from there. So this one's from Daniel.
What's up, guys? My name is Daniel from California. So I just wanted to get your guys' input on fighting adrenaline dump during competition, because during class, I feel like my rolls are really good. My cardio is good. I can roll every single round. But the second I do a competition, it just hits me really hard to where my grips are just completely done. My lungs are on fire. I can't breathe. Like, my chest hurts. And yeah, I just want to see how you guys deal with that. If I should train a certain way in class to try to combat that, or is it like my nerves? I have to kind of go in, you know, with a certain mindset into the competition. But yeah, so I just want to see what your guys' thoughts are on that. Love the podcast, by the way. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. And an adrenaline dump is just something that just sucks, and I'm sure we've all experienced it. And my recommendation to, and for those who don't know, an adrenaline dump, basically your body just like produces a ton of adrenaline, and it's really hard to, it makes it harder to perform, way harder.
God,
you know, you get so stiff and like so like slow feeling, and just like super like
your heart
tense.
rate's doing 140 for no reason.
Yeah, it's like, thanks, body. This is the opposite of what I need. You're screwing me right now. What the hell? And I think the best thing to combat that is, well, one thing is, you know, just the more you do competitions, the less nervous you get. But what I recommend to do now is get like a good warm up in, like, and get to like heavy breathing, because like my first round of like the gym always, especially if we do like a wrestling round, I'm always like dead after, if it's a hard round first. But if I like get that out of the way, just like, you know, get to some heavy breathing, my next rounds are always much easier. It's like, you're just so tense in the beginning. So yeah, I think people don't warm up enough. And I think it's way harder to over warm up than it is to under warm up. I mean, most people under warm up. So that's what I recommend. What do you guys think?
I know exactly what he's talking about. My first tournament, my forearms felt like Popeye. I couldn't move my hands. Justin was rubbing them, like trying to get blood going back in them. I couldn't breathe. It felt like fire in my lungs. I said, I can't go back out there. I'm gonna get killed. And he goes, no, you can do it, man. You can do it. And I went back out and performed. But then later on that night, I calmed myself down and I won gold after that in the no-gi. It's just, I had to get rid of that first match, that adrenaline. Yeah. Once that was gone, I was great. It was great.
Yeah, the first one's the hardest by far. So that's what I mean. If you get the hard, like heavy breathing out in your warm up, your first match will be way easier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the best thing you can do if you're struggling with adrenaline dumps is just compete a lot. Mm-hmm. As you like, I know when I started, like I used to get it all the time, and now it's not a problem at all. Like I don't get it, but you just like competing is a separate skill from rolling, and you have to get used to dealing with like the pressure of rolling in a match where people are watching. There's something on the line because, like, let's face it, in the gym, most rolls don't have anything on the line. Like it's just training. It's fun. So like if your gym can accommodate trying to maybe like do a match against someone of like a similar size and skill with people watching to like kind of like mimic that tournament like feel almost can kind of help. But yeah, just compete more, warm up well, find some sort of routine for you even that helps. Like if you do the same thing every day before class, like listen to the same song and then you listen to the same song before you compete, you can really start to like train your body as to what it needs to do.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
When I see like guys like Gordon Ryan and those guys walk out, he looks like he has not a care in the world. Like at that level, are most of those guys just that good that they're that confident?
It's hard to say, you know.
You think they're just shitting themselves in their head, you know?
I think the ones facing Gordon Ryan are probably shitting themselves a little bit.
Yeah,
and then
enough.
I think maybe their performance is also negatively impacted because they kind of lose in their head a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that might be, it might be a factor. And yeah, I used to get so nervous. I still get very nervous. Yeah. Like I'm going to be so nervous for this match coming up against Caesar. And that's just the way it goes. But it's like, you gotta do it anyways. You know, it's like, what can you do? You just got to do it.
That's what my question was getting at. Like, do guys at your level still get nervous?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. But like, I think it depends on your personality too. Like some people are just like super anxious and they have to deal with it, I think, worse than people that are kind of more carefree that way. Yeah. And it's harder too when you're like a gym owner or like a YouTuber because like, you know, there's people out there where it's like, if you lose, like they're going to be pretty happy to rub it in your face, because people even like, some people try to like rub it in my face that I lost to Bernardo Faria, and they don't like realize, okay, Bernardo's like one of the best in the world. And I did like pretty well against him, like defensively, like I thought I did well. So, and they're just like not nice people. They just want to find something just to bother you. And yeah, I know that if I lose this match, I'm gonna get a lot of people like, yeah, I told you so. Jordan's not good, you know, but whatever.
No, man, losing to a multiple-time world champion definitely means you suck.
Yeah, like, clearly.
You can't be good if you lose to a multiple-time world champion.
Exactly. So any competitor who's ever lost to anyone is just garbage, you know? Yeah. Like Felipe Pena, he lost to Rodriguez, garbage, obviously, clearly, you know? Galvao lost to Gordon, garbage. You know, apparently, using their logic, it's like these like good guys can be beat by other good guys, just the way it goes, you know, especially like, you know, you factor in other things too. So yeah, it's not a big deal. I'm pretty confident I'm going to win the Caesar match. You know, I'm not overlooking him or anything. I just, I'm pretty confident I'm going to win. So I'm not too worried there. I just have to, you know, really perform and not let the nerves get the best of me, because, you know, like Daniel was saying in his question, you know, he gets adrenaline dump, and like I worry about that too. I worry I'm gonna like blow my load, just going super hard in the beginning, and then oh crap, there's like a bunch of time left. I'm getting tired, and then the overtime is like if it goes to overtime, it's basically based off the overtime who wins. So like, if it goes to overtime because it's a draw and there's no sub in the 10-minute regulation, then none of that 10 minutes mattered. It's only the 2 minutes that scored. So to say I like dominate for 10 minutes, but I'm like dead tired and gassed, and then I like make one mistake and get taken down or something, and now I lose in overtime. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
Yeah. When you approach a match like that, you can, like, if you're 9 minutes or like 8.5 minutes in and it becomes obvious, you're like, I'm probably not going to finish this in the next minute. Do you kind of like rest a little bit going, I need to get some energy back, or do you keep going hard for those last couple minutes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it can go either way. It's like, I want to get this done quickly so it doesn't go to overtime, put in that extra effort, or you could rest too. And just kind of regain your energy. So I think it would just depend for me in the moment. I remember like my title fight in MMA, there was like 30 seconds left, and they're shorter rounds. There's 30 seconds left. I knew I wasn't going to finish in 30 seconds. So I was like, I'll just kind of like, slow it down now because there's going to be another round. I don't want to gas myself out. So yeah, it just depends on I guess what I'm feeling at the moment. What do you think you guys would do?
Oh, Jesus, I don't know.
I think it depends. Like if I'm on top or something and I know like I'm probably not going to finish this guy, but I can make him not able to rest while I get to rest, that would be ideal. I would love that. Yeah. But like if you're on bottom playing guard or something, I don't know if it's ideal to rest because then he's also resting and you're like, well, now we're both fresh. I just try and find the way where I can be fresher than him.
Well, what do you think is a good way to make someone else tired without making yourself tired?
Like anything with like a good pressure, usually. Like if you can get a side control where you've got like a good cross face and like maybe they're tight and not opening up, but like you're just dealing with that. Or like I think the most tiring position, honestly, is when someone turtles and you're kind of like not like taking the back, but like riding them because they just have to carry your weight. Mm-hmm. They're just carrying around a backpack. It's tiring, even if you're on all fours. Like having someone like kneeing your back and like leaning on you, it's hard to do that for a long period of time.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, like really leaning on people. Even when you're passing, like Gordon does it a lot where he'll kind of just like lean into them. They're kind of like framing on him, trying to keep him away. And just that's like really tiring for them. And even mount too. You can kind of cook people a little bit and mount, put a lot of pressure. But I think it's also dependent on them kind of trying hard to escape. Like if you're not trying hard to finish and they're not trying super hard to escape, kind of both guys can rest.
That's what I've been trying to do lately because Darren's been telling me, he goes, you're in a good position, you're in mount, just cook them. Just let them burn themselves out. What's the rush? You have 4 minutes left. You know what I mean? And then I would do that and it would wear on them. And then they just basically they want a way out at that point and give you a sub to take.
That's what I like the last few competitors I've worked with before they competed, like especially a white belt, it's a habit where people get like side control and then they want to immediately start looking for a submission. I'm like, look at his face. Look how uncomfortable that guy is. Just sit here, chill. You've got 30 seconds before the ref even warns you for stalling. Just sit here and make that guy hate his life. And I'm betting, honestly, he's going to make a really bad mistake or give you something to try to get out rather than like you let go of your pressure and control, trying to force something that might not be there. You get a good position. Let the other person just give you if you've got a good cross face, people are going to reach up and try and push off that shoulder to get it off their jaw. Cause like, let's be honest, it sucks. You put a good knee on belly on someone, they're going to push on your knee or start flailing cause it sucks. And like, that's when you get the submission. It's not when someone's, tight and controlled. It's very hard to just overpower something.
That's 100% right.
Yeah, just make them give it to you because they don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of beginners, especially, they want to like rush things and they don't want to, they prioritize like the submission over control. And this is kind of funny. Was that like yesterday is very similar to like I was teaching the advanced kids and we're doing like back stuff, and I kept telling them prioritize back control over the submission because they would just try to do whatever and then they would like lose the position. And it's like, no guys, like prioritize having the back. This is more important than getting your finish. And I think people need to kind of realize that more without going too far into it where it's like you're only controlling and just holding them doing nothing, because that's really annoying too. Like especially if like you're a bigger person, you pass like someone that's smaller past their guard, because Nikki is complaining about this, like, oh, they passed my guard and they just held me in side control and they did nothing. It's like they weren't even trying to do anything. So like that's annoying too.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting too, like when you have white belt matches being 5 minutes and black belt matches are 10, especially for white belts who like they rush. It's like your matches are so short. Don't rush, because if you get side control with 2 minutes left in a match, honestly, if you just don't make a bad mistake, it's almost impossible to lose this match. Whereas like I find black belt matches, everything's so slow because they know they have so long. So every position is like, just take your time. And it's like, wait, let's hurry this up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And when you mentioned that, it brought me back to Daniel's first question. I think one problem that people have too, not just the adrenaline dump, but their pacing in the match is too much. Like they'll sprint a lot in the match, or they go like super fast in a scramble or do this or that, where they go way harder than they would in the actual gym. They might not realize it, but it's like if you do sprints, I've been doing a lot of hill sprints, and after just going up the hill once, I'm like dead. It's hard. It's very hard. But it's very similar to in a match. It's like if you do that same intensity for the same amount of time, you're going to be very tired and hard to recover. But then in the match, you're forced to do it again quick, and you got to keep going these long sprints if you don't slow it down and watch your pacing. So yeah, it's not just adrenaline; it's also pacing. Pacing's a huge problem with that people have, myself included.
It's hard. It is really hard to and especially because when you go through the belts, the duration of the match does change, and especially you take super fights like you are, different length of match. When you start getting there's a big difference in pacing between a 5-minute match and a 20-minute super fight. Learning as you go and doing these matches and how to pace for different durations is a really important skill to learn if you want to compete.
Yeah, I agree. I wish black belt matches weren't 10 minutes. I don't want to roll for 10 minutes, and it would make things easier. Now I don't have to, do a bunch of strength and conditioning, because just rolling, you should be able to roll for 5 minutes just fine without doing strength and conditioning. But then it's 10 minutes, 12 minutes with overtime. You got to make sure you're well conditioned. So that's what I like about the Masters division. Is that is it 5 minutes or is it 6 minutes?
5.
Masters 1 is 6 for black belts.
Okay.
And then after Masters 2 is 5.
Yeah,
but for everyone else at Masters other than black belt, it's 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why
isn't too bad. That's the amount of time we roll at the gym is 6 minutes. I prefer 5 still, for a match,
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So we'll take a question from Nigel.
Hey, Jordan, Mike, and Joey. This is Nigel speaking. Thank you very much for the really great podcast that the three of you produce. And also a big thank you to Jordan for making such high quality videos on YouTube. I've been training BJJ for 3 weeks now, and I'm really wondering what you look for in a new white belt in your gym. What stands out for you? What makes a person a great addition to your gym? Much love from Belgium. Take care.
Yeah, this is such a great question because, people start training at the gym and I don't know beforehand how they're going to be. And I always love when I'm pleasantly, not surprised, but just happy with how they are. And basically to be a good white belt and good student, what I want to see is them really enjoy jiu-jitsu and, want to come back to multiple classes. We have this one person that just started, she comes to the morning classes and she comes to 2 nights a week, but she wants to come more, but she can't get her child watched more in the night. So she can't come more at night, but she wants to come even more, which I just think is awesome. If I see someone coming every day, I'm like this is awesome. They're going to be a great addition to the team. And so that's one thing, just seeing their kind of passion for it start right from the beginning. And then, some people are too hypercritical, or not hypercritical. They almost overanalyze things too much. And it's hard for them to really understand. It's you need to just stop overthinking it so much and just just do it, just roll, So I think when people are too much of overanalyzers, it's not always great. I like when people just, jump right in there. They're trying to roll as many rounds as possible. And, and of course the obvious things like having a great attitude and just being a nice person. Yeah. What do you guys think?
For good teammate, obviously, like you said, attitude. Are you friendly? Are you kind, nice? Are you a good teammate essentially? Skills wise. And I had this conversation with someone the other day. I think what you said, not being too critical is a good thing, because at white belt, it doesn't have to be perfect. It'll get perfect in time. It just has to kind of be good enough. You know what I mean? If you do a triangle at white belt and you're learning it, as long as you can get the mechanics of a good bite with that leg, I've locked it, I know how to finish. You don't have to have all the minute details perfect. That's going to come the next 500 times you do triangles in a class. Don't hyper fixate when you're learning a technique for the first time on making it absolutely perfect. Just get the feel for the motion, get as close as you can, and everything else will build off that. So just being open-minded and saying I'm learning the technique. I'm not wasting 4 hours trying to do one move, picture perfect black belt level. Learn as much as you can. Just be open-minded.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I also I like to correct people, make sure they do it well, but it's I don't overly correct a new person and make sure they get it absolutely black belt level, because that can discourage them too. So and again, they don't need to have it absolutely perfect. I'd rather them have it pretty good and not frustrate them. It's tell them over and over again, no, do this. And it's there's a level where it's maybe not needed.
Yeah, I think that's a skill as a coach too, is watching someone do a technique and knowing when to correct them or when to just say, that's good enough for now. Yeah. Especially with kids classes, because sometimes you just look at it and you're all right, that's good enough.
Yeah, exactly. And well, yeah, that's kind of how it is in like my beginner class. It's like they don't get it 100% perfect, but it's pretty good. That's good to go. But in my advanced class, I told them this yesterday too. It's like, guys, this is an advanced class. Like you guys have to get it absolutely perfect. And you know, and they understand that. They don't like they're not worried. I'm not worried about them thinking I'm being like singling them out or anything, because I keep getting them to do it perfect. But it's like, you know, this is more important, you know, for you guys. Like you have to get absolutely perfect every single detail. So we're not moving on to different techniques until they perfect these ones. And I really like teaching the advanced classes.
For a while there, I wasn't rolling brand new students because I was getting injured when I would roll brand new students. Not their fault, because they don't know what they're doing when they first start. And that's what I've changed about myself lately too, is I do roll them now. When like I took your advice, I do roll them when they first come in. I just help them out more, help them not go through, you know, being, I know we can't say it anymore, spazzy, you know, I don't even know another word to say for that. Tell them not to use just strength, and just talk to them. And that's what I like about a white belt that comes in with a good open mind and doesn't mind you telling them or give them helpful criticism.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of beginners and white belts in general, they need to kind of be like, you know, someone take them under their wing a little bit. Maybe not just a specific person, but like everyone kind of just really helping them, encouraging them, showing the ropes, because it is a really tough sport to start by yourself. And you're just like, you know, you're just like in deep in the water. And it's like, what do I do? You know?
There's an example that, you know, Owen from the kids class, well, he transferred now up to the adult class. And when he first started, it was a little different, but now, man, the kid is a killer. He almost subbed Justin the other night.
Yeah.
And Justin was cool about it too, you know, and it just made that kid's day. And he's just become such a great grappler lately.
Yeah, I took him aside the other day too, and I told him like Owen, you can be the best in the world. Like you can do that. You have the potential. And it's like, are you going to do that? You know, that's up to you, because a lot of people with potential don't always reach it because they don't take the steps to do it. And Owen is taking the steps. So I told him like, you know, keep doing what you're doing, keep training hard all the time, and, you know, keep improving. And yeah, I think that really motivated him too, because yeah, which is good. That was my goal, because I 100% believe it.
Yeah, no, that kid, if he applies himself 100%, I exactly what you said, he could be a champion for sure.
Exactly. And everyone's been really helpful to him. I know like Brad at the gym, he's kind of taking him under his wing. It's really nice. Yeah,
Brad, Justin, I help him out a little bit. All of us a little bit, but Brad a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy. He's 13 years old, and like I want to roll with him because he's like, you know, a fast-paced roll. He just doesn't stop, and you know, it's just it's fun to roll with him.
Oh man, when I roll him, he goes like, I have to be on point. He goes 100%. He's got the cardio of a 13-year-old kid, and I got the lungs of a 47-year-old old smoker, right? So
exactly,
yeah, he puts the pace up.
He rolls pretty hard, but like he doesn't roll aggressive where he's going to hurt anyone. But he definitely rolls like competitively.
That's a good way to put it. Competitive roll, not aggressive.
Which, like, being like 13 and like smaller than the rest of the adults, I feel like adults can handle it just fine. You know?
Yeah. At first, though, when he first transferred, I think he was a little hyper aggressive, but then now he's changed it. It's way more controlled. He's changed a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah. He definitely came in like high and like has started like bringing it back down to like, this is the level that he needs to be at. But like, I was his partner for technique last night, and for a 13-year-old, I was really impressed that, like, you know, when we're doing the technique, like he was asking questions, not just like, did I do it right kind of thing, but like, you know, like things like, you know, how would you respond if the guy did this? Or like, why am I moving? Like you can tell when you're doing things with him, he's genuinely really trying to understand everything he's doing. And it's impressive because a lot of kids don't do that.
Exactly. And one great thing about him too is he uses like everything he learns from the channel. He watches the channel, and man, when I watch him roll, it's like watching myself. It's like, yeah, you saw that from the channel, saw that. And just like, it's super cool. And because not all students are like that. You know, not every student actually uses the technique that they learn in class or online or whatever. And they kind of just wing it a lot, and don't really do that. So I really like that about Owen. He's like very he's a very student of the game.
Yeah, and now the stuff he uses in our class, he knows now not to use it in the kids' class. Like he's not going to pull a twister on an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old kid. You know what I mean? He uses what he learns in adult class and leaves it there, which is great. I like that. He's a great kid.
Yeah, great kid and great student. And I think I know that people will know his name like in a couple of years from now. He's going to be killing it.
Yeah.
Those kids classes are always like, when you get those kids like him, and like I'm sure a lot of gyms have that, where it's like you've got a kid who's young, like pretty decent athleticism and a mind for the game and a genuine desire to want to learn. Like I'm sure you guys look at those kids and go, oh my God, like in 5 to 10 years, you're going to be a real handful.
Oh yeah.
Brandon.
Oh yeah. Brandon's really good too. Like that.
Yeah.
Actually, like the crop of kids we have right now in the advanced class, they're like all so dedicated and so, just good. And they're going to be so good. And we didn't have an advanced class before for kids, and we couldn't develop them as much. So like over the years, like I feel like we didn't do a great job as we do now, but now I have these advanced classes. I work with all these kids like one-on-one. I love doing it. Like I love seeing their progression, seeing them do all these cool things. And it's just like, yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I love watching like the future generations, and man, like even as like a black belt, or like, I know I've talked to a lot of like purple belts and stuff. Like when you see those green belt kids and stuff on the mat, like you better be careful, because that kid could have been training for like 13 years. You're in for a rough ride if you're not prepared.
Yeah. Some of those green belts are basically like purple belts, you know?
Yeah, or better. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy sometimes when you see those kids with the upper belts. You really never know what you're gonna get.
Exactly. I can't wait to see Audrey, my daughter, when she's a little older, because she's 9 right now.
Oh yeah.
And I know like when she's like 16, that's probably when she'll be like pretty much grown into her adult frame. A little, maybe still a little bit of ways to go, but enough where it's going to be like a really good role for, you know, everyone at the gym, including me. And it'd be really fun to see her and Nikki roll, because me and Nikki had Audrey like pretty young. So like as Audrey gets to like the adult size, we're still like decently young. We're still in our 30s. And yeah, I can't wait to see them roll.
Yeah.
She's going to be terrifying when
Yeah.
she's
Yeah,
16,
for sure.
because that's a lifetime of growing up on the mats with like extremely talented parents who like impart that knowledge. Like I'm sure outside of the gym too, every now and then you're throwing stuff at her that like it's just that stuff that as an adult when you join, you don't get. Like most adults who join don't get like a black belt and a brown belt.
Yeah.
Giving them all this stuff from your formative years when you learned the best. Like when she's 16, she's going to be a handful for adults who've been training for a long time.
God forbid if she ever does Muay Thai, because I was sitting just resting the one day and I hear whomp, whomp, whomp. I'm like, what in the fuck is that? And I thought some adult walked in off the street and was beating the shit out of the bag. It was his little daughter kicking it so hard that there was people peeking around the corner going, what the hell? Couldn't believe how hard she was kicking the bag.
Yeah, she does do Muay Thai. She does it once a week.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
It was crazy.
It is crazy because, you know, people always say my legs are huge, but like Audrey's are just as big. And
She got your genetics.
Yeah, she's got my genetics. All my kids do. They all have huge legs, especially Audrey and Rory. And yeah, they're going to like, she can kick super hard, very, very strong legs.
Yeah, I let Audrey kick me in the leg a few years ago just because she wanted to.
Yeah, me too.
And as soon as she kicked me, I was like, I'm never letting you do that again.
Yeah, imagine now.
Did not
she's
feel
bigger
good.
now.
No.
And Audrey's actually like, she's like a big girl too. She's like 100 pounds for being like 9 years old, but like not like, you know, overweight or anything, but she's just like solid. So yeah, when she's 16, it's going to be fun for all of us to roll with.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you've noticed this, but her father's a little bit solid too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's where she got it from for sure. And Nikki's a pretty like strong of a woman too. So I think she just like all our kids got really good genetics that way. They got lucky.
Dude, when I roll Nikki, I have to go 100% like it's a tournament roll.
Yeah.
And I still get my ass handed to me 99.9% of the time.
Because she's not just good and she's not just strong. She's like both. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to, you know, because sometimes some women, if they lack the strength, they like other people can make up for the lack of technical ability to like still beat them, right? Because they have the strength over them. But then you have like someone like Nikki's also strong. It really benefits her that way.
Oh, super strong and super technical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just got the full package. So let's take this one from, this one's from Gustavo.
Yo, what's up? I'm Gustavo, blue belt from Brazil, and I have a question for you guys, and that's it. For the past 2 or 3 months, I feel totally stagnated in my BJJ. After my roles in each and every session on my gym, I don't feel that I'm improving at all. I get smashed, and I don't feel any sense of improvement on my game at all. And even when I watch videos on YouTube or practice with my friends, I don't feel any sense of improvement. And this like it gets me frustrated. And I don't know if you guys have ever felt like this. And I want your comments or opinion on this type of stagnation or not awareness of improvement. So I hope I got understood, and hope your channel and your podcast grows. I love it, and keep on coming, man. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gustavo. And yeah, what do you guys think? What should you do if you're not feeling improvement and you're stagnating?
How long did he say he's been kind of on a downward trajectory? I missed that part at the start.
Yeah, I don't think he said.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Because that is an important factor. It's like everyone goes through some stagnation and some some down times, and yeah, it just won't last forever though.
Yeah, I go through it a lot less now, but I went through periods where 2-3 months where I wasn't it was my own fault, but I wasn't growing really. I just got in my own head and tripped myself up, but you come out of it. Yeah, you get better. I mean, you usually get better after a downward stint.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to everybody. I don't know a single person who's been training for a long time who hasn't had like a prolonged period where they felt like they weren't getting better or were getting worse. But like, it's one of those things that if you just keep training, eventually it will come together and you'll notice like a huge leap. The only other thing I'd say is like, if this has been going on for a really long time and you're one of those people who trains like 6-7 days a week, it might actually behoove you to take like a 2-week break and just like let your body kind of like rest and reset. Overtraining is a real thing. And I know like we always say like, just keep training. But sometimes if you're overtrained, that's the worst thing you can do is just keep pushing because you're getting less and less out of every training session.
And I say, talk to your coach too and ask them, what can I do to improve?
Yeah. I really like your point about overtraining because I think so many people overtrain that it's just ridiculous. Like, and I really experienced it last week. I did like CrossFit workout and I did so many freaking pull-ups and I was like so dead for like a whole week. Like my body, I had severe DOMS, which is delayed onset muscle soreness. And it affected my other workouts. Like I couldn't work out or roll really because my body was dead. And I knew if I did like, half the amount of pull-ups in that session, then I would still be able to train the next day and the day after and, I'd be good to go. But instead, I couldn't because I overtrained. But it's not only for for lifting and stuff like that, it's for jiu-jitsu too. People go so hard every day and every day they're like not recovering, so they're in this state of like perpetual overtraining mode where they're feeling really tired, they're feeling unmotivated, they're feeling like their body's like slower and their mind is slower, and then obviously you're going to roll worse because you're not physically there to be able to do it. So yeah, it could be a problem too that you're constantly overtrained.
Yeah, and like you hit there, the mind too is important. Sometimes it's not just the body. Like I've had times where I felt good, like my body, but my mind just was like done with how much I was training and it needed a break. And it's like, I always equate it back to like when you study in school, if you just study for like 13 hours straight with no break, after like an hour and a half, you're getting probably very little out of that. Your mind's not going to remember things because it's overworked. You have to take breaks to refresh and recharge to perform at your best, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, like that's how you grow. You recover from the stimulus, you can't just do stimulus. You have to do stimulus, recovery. So the stimulus is rolling or lifting, whatever it is, and people don't want to do the recovery. They just want to do the stimulus, but you can't grow. It's impossible.
Yeah, I think too many people get hooked into I have to be there every class. I have to be there every night, no breaks, or I can't be as good as I can be. Well, it can be detrimental to your rolling.
Big time.
I think your growth. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's that like everyday Pahada kind of mentality. Train hard every single day, and professional athletes can do that because they have advantages to be able to do it, right? But if you have like a job and responsibilities and everything, it's just hard to do that. It's hard to train every day and recover.
Yeah, and I mean, if you talk about professional athletes like outside of combat sports and jiu-jitsu, like every pro sport has an off season. Like, these guys go hard. Like baseball, I don't know shit about baseball, but I'm going to talk about baseball because I know it's like going on right now. Like they have a long season. They play a lot of games. But once their season's done, like if you think these guys, the moment their season finishes, are like back to practice as hard as I can every day, like, you're crazy. No, they're taking time. They're relaxing. They're resting because they know they've got another long season coming up for. And if you don't rest now, you're not going to make it through that season. And like, even people see MMA fighters and stuff. Like, I don't think most people realize that, like, once a guy finishes a fight, they don't just jump back into training full time the next day. Sure, they train still, but you got to take time, and they take time to heal and rest and recover and like just recharge.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for me, like, basically from like Christmas to like September, I was like not feeling jiu-jitsu very much. And, just having like, I felt a very like, I don't know, just not a lot of excitement to do it, and just kind of like down on myself in general. But then I started getting like, I don't know, kind of back into the swing of things, kind of getting more passion for it again. And then I feel like I've been rolling better than ever. So I went through like a really long slump, and then now I'm in like the feeling good again. And, I've been rolling with Alex a lot. He's been telling me like, man, you're looking so sharp and, looking better than ever. And it's because it's true. I feel like I reached a new level, but I had to go through a really long period of a slump first.
What brought you out of that slump?
Yeah, I'm not even sure, really. I just, I don't know. I just started feeling good again. And because honestly, I was kind of losing passion for jiu-jitsu, because I was also like, just doing everything with the YouTube channel and, the gym. It's like, this is like my passion, but it's also like my job.
Yeah.
And we talked about it in a past podcast, and I kind of danced around the truth, which is like, I was burning out and not enjoying it as much anymore. So, but yeah, now I am. So, and I need to make sure I don't get into that, like, go into that down again. Cause like we were talking about earlier, there's like ups and downs. Like, I'm feeling good lately. I was like, I wanted this to like last, and, good with jiu-jitsu. So yeah, it's just one of those things. And, it's just a lot of people go through it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this fella comes out of it.
Yeah, I hope so. And I hope you improve. And maybe one of the things is that like, your training partners are also getting better too. So it's like they're getting better and you're getting better, and it just feels like you're not making progress. But if someone new comes in, and you can test your skills against them, and you probably realize that you are getting better.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
So this one is from Pedro.
Hey Jordan, it's Pedro Rodriguez down here in Southern Arizona. Hi guys, appreciate the podcast, appreciate everything you guys are putting out. Absolutely love it. Been listening to the podcast ever since you guys came out. Super, super great information. Been waiting a while to ask this question because I was trying to figure out a good question to ask you guys. What is the best way to improve your instruction? As a purple belt right now, been training for 5 years. I want to improve that aspect of my game as far as instruction wise. What tips, hints, training that I can do to help improve my instruction to other people? Thank you. Thank you guys.
Yeah, but how about before we start giving tips, let's just talk about what makes a bad instructor. And other than like, dick pinching, which we talked about in the past, because that does make a bad instructor. But one thing I really hate is when people, they just talk forever and they just won't get to the point. And then afterwards you're like, what are we even supposed to do here? That's really annoying. Because sometimes people want to tell like their whole life story and like just go on and like go off and like, I don't know, just talk forever. You know, it's like, how's this even relevant? Just like, tell me what to do.
And by the time they get to do the technique, you're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do anyways. I tuned out after 45 seconds. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the most frustrating thing. And, I guess other things would be just not being very clear of what you're saying. And, what do you guys think makes a good instructor?
Like, just being concise too. Like, if you can convey all of the necessary information and as little words as possible, essentially. Like, if we're doing like a triangle, don't start talking to me about, you can switch to an armbar and an omoplata and start talking about all that stuff. Like, what move are we doing? Explain what I need to do. And then if there's more moves, tell me those details when you show me those moves. Like, keep it concise, keep it clear so that the people you're showing know what they're doing. Like, I always tell people, if you want to get better at teaching and instructing, try finding someone who has never done a class of jiu-jitsu and show them how to do a move. Because you'll realize really quickly, you can't say things like, oh, just shrimp your hip out here. Because they'll be like, do what? I don't understand. So you have to be, we're going to move our hip out and get onto the right hip bone so that I'm not flat on my back. And everyone can go, oh, I understand those words. Like the more you can teach someone who has no idea what they're doing, or more importantly, if you can teach a kids class where like you really have to make sure everything is very clear when you teach a kids class. But yeah, keep it clear, keep it concise, and make sure you could teach it to someone who had never done jiu-jitsu before.
I think that's exactly right. Yeah, 100%. I think me teaching the kids classes since I started has really helped my instruction for adults too, because like you said, you can't overcomplicate it. You need to make it so that a kid can understand it. And then, once you learn how to, teach kids, it's like makes it a lot easier to teach adults too. And, like you said, you want to keep it concise, because what happens a lot is I'll teach something. I'll feel like I only taught that for like a minute or something. And it's like, is this clear to everyone? And everyone's like, yeah, it's good to go. And then, when they go to do it, they do it right, because I only use what's necessary to tell them, right? So yeah, I always feel like this. It's like, did I not say enough? I feel like this went too quickly. Same with my BJJ Fanatics instructionals too. I feel like it's like, man, this clip was only like 3 minutes or whatever. It's like, but someone else's would be like 10 or 15. It's like, is this bad upon me? It's like, no, I'm just pretty concise. So I think that's what makes a good instructor.
Yeah, I think so. And like one thing I like to do too is when I'm showing a move, if there's a part where I know people are going to get stuck or do something wrong, I'll really take a second to emphasize like, not this. Like I'm just using a triangle for example, but like when you're first teaching triangles to new people, they will always lock that foot like under the calf or something. And it's like it's beneficial to just take a second and say like, not under the calf. You have to make sure it's really under the back of the knee and the leg is right across the neck. Because I know if I don't emphasize that, half the groups are going to go out, and when they practice it, the leg's not going to be right across the back of the neck and shoulders, and it's not going to be locked in the knee. So I'd rather take a second when I'm teaching to say like, this is what a lot of people are going to feel is natural to do or do. Take the time to do it right. So this, not this. And then when they go do it, they'll be like, oh yes, he really emphasized not this.
Yeah, I think that's the best piece of advice, really. Because I wish I had thought of that before you, because that's the truth. Because I do that all the time too. It's like if I see these, common mistakes people make, then I'll say them while I'm doing the technique, and then they won't make those mistakes. And it helps so much. So you kind of get that over time, where it's like you kind of learn what people do wrong the most, and then you figure it out, and then you can address it before it happens. And then if you address it before it happens, it's like, I feel like all the time now, I don't really need to even correct people very much, because they have it right, because I've like told them what people often do wrong. That's like the biggest one. That's a great point, Joey.
Yeah, and you do that really well, like when you teach. And I'm sure like you said, it does come from just like, you've taught it 100 times. You've seen what people did wrong all of those 100 times. And now on time 101 of teaching it, you're like, well, I know where you guys are going to screw up. So I'm just going to preemptively stop that.
Yeah, a really great example is in the kids class, especially. Well, I teach like an ankle pick, and they always want to let go of the collar and not the sleeve. So I remind them, do not let go of the collar. Keep this grip very tight. Do not let go of the collar. And I'll say like, what grip can we let go of, the collar or the sleeve? And they say we let go of the sleeve to grab the ankle. And it's like really drilled into their head. Whereas before, maybe I'll say like when I was beginning as an instructor, I'll be like, you let go of the sleeve, grab the ankle, and boom, and then they're over. But so I didn't really address, keep that collar. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. Address the things the mistakes people are going to make.
Yeah, I really like the way all you guys teach, because you break it down into steps. Instead of showing the entire move from start to finish, you'll show a third of it, and then we'll break, and then we'll do that, and then you'll add the second part, and then add the third part. Because if I was to do it all from I wouldn't be able to remember it all.
Yeah,
it makes it so much easier to digest and remember.
That's something I like doing a lot. Is like if it's like a bunch of steps for a technique, instead of showing the whole thing at once, it's like, let's get to here first, and then now let's work on what to do from here.
Yeah. It helps so much.
Yeah. And one thing too, like review really matters. It's like, you can't just teach like a random technique every class, which I used to do back in the day, and I don't do that anymore. Now like we review so much, especially in the kids class. Like we spent 2 weeks on balloon sweeps and tripod sweeps from collar and sleeve. And now every single kid in that class can do one. But it's if we were to spend one class on it and we didn't review, maybe some of them can, right? But it's like, repetition is so important to really get things into your brain. And even if you feel like an instructor, it's like boring to like, oh, we just went over this and we got to go over it again, boring for your students almost. It's like, it doesn't matter, prioritize like, what's important, because I guarantee it's not actually boring for the students.
Yeah. And like my job as an instructor is not to make sure I'm having fun. It's to make people better.
Yeah,
so, like,
exactly.
you know, if it's boring for me to teach it 5 days in a row, well, it doesn't matter because I need to make sure people are good at it. And like, as a student, there was nothing I hated more than like showing up to 3 days of classes and it was just 3 completely unrelated, unconnected things. And you're like, hey, what do I practice at the end of the week? Like, what do I take away from this? It doesn't make any sense. Whereas like, I like the way we do it at our gym, and a lot of other gyms do it, where you build off of one thing. Like if we're doing collar sleeve, like it's going to be getting into collar sleeve and like balloon sweep. And now we're adding tripod sweep. And then we add like over time how to do other things from there, rather than just like one day of this, one day of like close guard, one day of mount top. And it's like, well, it doesn't connect. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And if it's like too much repetition for like the advanced guys, what I'll do is I'll give like an advanced option. So
Yeah, I like that.
yeah. So it's like, okay, you advanced people, do this instead of reviewing what you just like did last class, which you know very well, or do that still, but then also add this. So that's what I did in the kids class yesterday. It's like all the advanced kids, they know how to do a balloon sweep now. They know how to do a tripod sweep. So they reviewed those 2 things in the first part of the technique. And then the second part, the newer students were doing just the tripod sweep, but the advanced kids were doing a triangle from collar and sleeve. So, and I didn't need to teach them like, you know, how to do a triangle. It was like, I'm just going to teach you the setup. So anyone that knows how to do a triangle, do this instead. Because again, like, you know, it's sometimes you just need to show like a setup, and it's not the day to teach the actual technique itself of the triangle. And you save that for another class where you only focus on that.
Yeah. And sometimes I like to do that, like at the end of a class, if I've shown like 2 techniques that are like, you know, the bread and butter fundamentals, like you have to have these. It'll be like, all right, I'm going to show a third one. We're not going to spend as much time on it. It's really advanced. So like everyone feel free to try it. But if you don't get it or you're newer, just do the first 2 things. Because really like those are all that matter. The bonus ones, just like for the advanced students who want to see something maybe they haven't seen before or want some more direction.
Exactly. I think it's good to like customize your classes to like, you know, who's there and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's really good.
That's actually another good point, is like teaching to who's there.
Oh
like,
man.
We probably should touch on that. Like if you have a bunch of like 250 pound white belts in your class, probably not the best day for barambolos.
Exactly. Like sometimes I'll change what I was going to teach based off who's there, because especially, or you have like a lot of beginners and it's like, okay, I can't teach what I want to teach. I got to teach a little bit more basic. Or sometimes you have a lot of advanced people. It's like, perfect, let's do something super advanced, because I know you guys will be able to get it, no problem. So yeah, and then size matters too. Yeah, you don't want to show like, you know, a bunch of barambolos when it's all like huge dudes that day. So yeah, you have to be like adaptive, and yeah, that's important. So we'll take this one from Paige.
Hi, Jordan, Joey, and Mike. My name is Paige, but you probably know me as Joey's wife. I just had a question for you guys. If you've ever injured somebody during a tournament, Joey, I know you have, but I was just curious what the worst injury that you've caused someone was, and if it kind of ruined the win for you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I've never really hurt someone in a tournament other than my MMA fight where I broke the guy's arm a little bit. Not like really bad, but it definitely hyperextended past the point, and I hurt a lot of crunches, and I didn't feel bad really. You know, it's like, you should have tapped. You know, what are you doing, bro? Like, I didn't want to do this, and you know, I just wanted you to tap and get it over with. You know, so yeah, I didn't feel bad. And the worst injury I caused was in training. It was to Joey when I messed up his kneecap, put it on the other side for a failed hip throw. And yeah, I felt really bad about that. And but I learned from it, and now I'm much safer of the way I go about takedowns. Joey, what are the worst injuries you've caused?
I've broken a lot of people's bones. I go for like a lot of cheesy submissions. Anyone who's rolled with me knows I love like a lot of foot locks, like wrist locks, just weird stuff that most people don't expect. And it turns out when you do that in a tournament, when people are like, I'm not going to tap, it's like, well, if you're not going to tap to my wrist lock, your wrist is going to break.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You may think it's a cheesy submission, but if you don't deal with it, it will hurt you. And it does feel bad. Like when you hurt someone, it's hard to explain, because like it is on you to tap. Like I don't feel too bad, because I'm like, I wanted to win, and like you should have just tapped. But at the same time, you're like, I wanted to win, but I also didn't want to hurt another person, because I know what it's like to be hurt, and it sucks. Mm-hmm. So like it does kind of feel bad. But I think if you're someone who wants to compete, you have to understand that like if someone's not going to tap, I do have to hurt you. Like it's a weird mentality to have. Like I don't want to hurt people, but I have to be willing to hurt people.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Cause like when I was breaking his arm, I didn't want to, but like, I felt like he left me no choice. You know, I'm not just going to like risk losing this MMA fight. And, you know, if you get out of it, start punching me in the face, you know, it's like, I'm going to make sure your arm is broken as much as it needs to be to get the win if you're not going to tap.
Yeah. It's like that killer instinct, like especially in MMA, like you have to be willing to hurt someone to do well. Like you don't have to like it. You don't have to want to do it, but you have to be willing to do it when the time calls for it.
I agree. And I think you brought up a great point about your style of like, you know, again, kind of like cheesier of submissions at times, you know, like wrist locks and whatnot, buggy chokes. And where I think that kind of dictates, because sometimes people don't want to tap to certain submissions. And like you said, you buggy choked someone last tournament and they got all mad after and whatnot. And yeah, some chokes and some techniques are just like that. So it depends on what it is. Have you ever hurt anyone, Mike?
Yeah, I did an electric chair on a guy in a tournament and ripped his groin, and he screamed, and I thought they were going to call the match right there, so I let go, and then he got out and they went on, he ended up winning the match, and I'm kind of looking at the ref, but afterwards he goes to me, I should have tapped because you tore everything in my groin. He let out a shriek like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, it was crazy.
Man, you only have one body and you can't just like let it get torn up, especially your groin. You know?
I had a good bite on it too, and I was going nice and slow, but yeah.
Yeah, man. I actually have hurt a couple ankles, like I think like two that you know, they weren't tapping and had to do what I had to do and snap their ankles, but I had my ankle snap too, and it definitely sucks.
Yeah.
Ankles are the weird one because like they can break really easily, but so many people seem to have this like mentality of like, it's just a foot.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Well, yeah, it is, but you kind of do still need it.
Yeah,
like, if you like walking.
That's true, but you know, my physiotherapist told me that my ligaments, my ankles are completely torn, and I just don't have ligaments anymore in there. So that's what they said, which I find strange. But I get, or maybe specific ligaments, and maybe not all of them. I don't know, but they can like really turn like crazy and really bend, and yeah, you know, I don't really need them. So, you know, it's not a big deal when people start going for like ankle locks. It's like, okay, if you like break my ankle or you know, snap my ligaments more or different ones that weren't snapped, I'll be all right.
It's kind of like the Meow Brothers are like that too, yeah?
Yeah, well, they're a special case. Like if you ever watch them walk off the mats, like you'd be like, these are like 90-year-old cripples.
Yeah.
They roll like world champs, and you're like, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah, that one picture, it was
a knee bar.
Yeah, a knee bar against one of the Rotolo brothers. Yeah. And just like, how did you not tap to that, and why?
And the look on Ty's face when he's wrenching that knee is he's going as hard as he can.
Yeah, and how bad could that have been? You know, it's like it could have been even worse than it was. Like, you know, it could have looked like, you know, when it's like a leg press and
folds backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because how far can a knee bar go if you really crank it and they're not tapping? I don't know.
Paul Harris did that against John Fitch, and I can't remember the promotion, but it's the exact same thing. Would not let go. Knee bent the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, he seemed a little unhinged, though.
You think?
Yeah, maybe not the most mentally balanced of humans. No. But like guys like the Meows, like you see that and people go like, oh, wow, like they're so tough not to tap. But do you ever think like guys like that are almost like too tough for their own good? Like you're tough and you're not tapping, but like it's cool that you're a world champion because of it, but are you going to walk when you're 40? Because I think I'd rather be able to walk when I'm 40 and like play with my children than be a world champion.
Well, that's what I'm worried about for only one main injury for me. It's not really injuries, but just my hands. Like I'm like, my body is in really good condition for training so long. Like, I feel like I have no real injuries, just my hands. Like I've done it on the show before, like when I cracked them. Right, that's not a good sound. And it's like, if it sounds like that now, how's that going to sound in 10 years? So that's another reason why I really prefer no gi over gi nowadays, because the gi hurts my fingers. And but I actually hurt this finger in that roll against that 280-pound purple belt. He didn't do anything wrong. I spiked my finger on the mat, and it's been like super big now since then.
That's really swollen. Holy.
Yeah, and it's been like 3 weeks since it happened.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, and I think it might be permanent now. So my fingers aren't in great shape. And that one more time.
It's like every time you close your hand.
Yeah, literally. I can do it nonstop. It just keeps going.
Yeah, that can't be good. Like, I don't know if it's bad. I'm not a doctor, but it doesn't sound like it's good.
It doesn't feel good. My hands are always in pain. My fingers are always in pain, but not to the point where it's like, woe is me and big deal. But yeah, again, I might be like that in 10 years. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But sorry, one of the reasons too is because I have really strong grips and I'm really stubborn with them. So like I have the mentality all the time. It's like, you want to break my grip? I don't think so. You know what I mean? So I'll hold to the death just to prove a point that you're not going to break that grip. And not very smart, because that's like hurt my fingers many times. But yeah, if someone's like if you have a grip on someone, don't hold to like a death grip if they're trying to break it, because you're going to risk your own fingers, unless you want to and you want to take that risk. But you don't want your fingers to sound like mine. You definitely don't want that.
Since this is the last episode of this podcast, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why, for the love of Christ, do people, when they grapple in professional events, lock fingers? Why do they do that? It looks like nothing but an injury factory.
Yeah, basically they do, just because it's like a very neutral grip. It's like neither one of them can do anything to each other. It's almost like a stalling grip. So it's just they kind of end up there, and then, they're both content with it almost. It's like they're not going to grip fight more. It's just, okay, we go here. It's not a useful grip whatsoever. It's completely pointless.
Okay.
I hate when people do that to me.
I always wonder why.
It's one bad motion away from a broken finger. It's one twist. Like I don't hold my hand like that. Like, it's not a helpful grip for you. It's not a helpful grip for me. Just grab my wrist or something, man.
Exactly. We have to have some boundaries. I'll interlace my fingers with Nikki, but like that's different. We have to have because there's no really boundaries in jiu-jitsu. How about let's not hold hands like that? That's the only thing.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it's not the best grip, and especially with my fingers. I don't want anyone interlacing my fingers like that. That's not going to feel good.
I just always see in matches people go to do it and people accept it. They don't just grab the wrist, knock it away, and grab the wrist. They accept, we're going to play mercy for a minute. I don't understand why.
It's kind of laziness in a way, like, because like you said, like it is like a neutral grip, and it's just people going, I'll accept neutral rather than fight to have a good grip, because fighting's hard work.
Exactly.
People don't want to do it.
Grip fighting is hard, and if you like make one mistake, then they shoot on you or whatever. It's almost like a sense of like comfort. Maybe it's like, okay, they can't do anything, I can't do anything. But I don't think they're thinking that at the time. It's more of like a natural thing that kind of happens.
Okay.
So thanks everyone for listening to the Jordan Talk-Jitsu podcast. Again, this is the last episode, and we'll make sure that that you're well informed and linked up to the new podcast. And it's still the same podcast you know and love, just it's a different name, a little bit more I don't know, I guess like just a little bit more to it, like with interviews and everything we have planned. So super excited for it. And any closing words from you guys?
I just really like to thank everybody for their support who messaged me and supports us in general. It's amazing.
Yeah, you guys have all been amazing. Like, just like, the feedback and the people who reach out on social media to us to like thank us for the podcast or ask us questions. Like, it is really just amazing to see how many people listen to this. And actually, I never would have thought that at any point in my life, people from like other countries would listen to what I have to say. Yeah, so it's been really cool.
Yeah, exactly. They value it, and they're going to continue to do that, I'm sure. So, and we're just going to grow even more. Right now, we average about 4,000 listens per episode, which is pretty good. And but we're going to do better. I want to be number one. I don't want to be like doing good. I want to be doing the best. That's my goal, and I know we're going to get there because we're going to work hard to do it. And with that said, we'll see you guys next time.